Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something that feels like a dream for a lot of people. We are talking about buying property in paradise, specifically Phuket, Thailand.
Ah, yes.
Hmm.
The sunshine, the beaches, that incredible lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's not just a lifestyle play, it's a serious investment opportunity. But here's the catch. Our goal today is to figure out how you make that dream a reality without overpaying. That's the real challenge, isn't it?
It's the whole game. Buying property anywhere is tricky, but internationally, in a market like Phuket, negotiation is everything. And it's not about being aggressive. It's about being prepared.
And we are not just pulling from, generic online guides for this one. Our source material today is basically a set of insider secrets. They come from a firm called Ocean Worldwide.
Right, and this is key. They're a luxury real estate agency that's been on the ground in Phuket since 2004. So we're talking about almost 2 decades of experience.
That's some serious local knowledge. The agency director, Sandra O'Neill, has apparently guided thousands of families and investors through this exact process. So this isn't theory.
No, this is all field tested. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack their 5 key steps for negotiation success. We're going to cover everything from understanding the market all the way to making that perfect offer and, crucially, knowing when to walk away.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture, the market itself. Why Phuket? I mean, beyond the obvious beauty, what makes it such a solid place for property investment?
Well, the sources really point to 2 things that create this stable foundation. You have the year-round sunshine, which is the obvious draw.
Right.
But you pair that with a really mature, well-established global tourism industry. And that means there's just constant, consistent demand for rentals.
So whether it's a short-term holiday let or a longer-term rental for an expat, there's always a pool of potential tenants.
Exactly. And that consistent demand helps to underpin the property values over the long term.
What I found really interesting in the material from Ocean Worldwide was the emphasis on variety. It's not a one-size-fits-all market.
Not at all. You could be looking at a spectacular luxury villa, infinity pool, view of the Andaman Sea, the works,
The dream.
the absolute dream. But you can also find a much more modest, really well-appointed apartment that's closer to the action. This huge range means it appeals to a lot of different budgets. And that's why, values there have generally seen really steady growth. It's seen as a pretty safe place to park your money.
Which brings us to location, location, location. The sources make it super clear that where you buy on the island dramatically changes your investment strategy.
Oh, completely. You have to match the geography to your financial goals.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for just sheer maximum rental demand, you're probably looking at Batam.
That's the nightlife hub, right? Very busy.
Very busy. Lots of condos, hotel units. The demand is just off the charts all year round.
But what if you want something a bit more relaxed? Maybe for families.
Then you look at places like Kata and Kran. The sources point to them as having high demand, but a more family-friendly vibe. Beautiful beaches. It's a great balance, really. Good for villas and apartments.
Okay, and then there's the high-end option. The source mentions Bang Tao.
Yes, and this is where the nuance comes in. The demand is listed as medium-high, not insane like Patong. But you're selling a completely different product. Bang Tao is exclusive, it's quiet, it's upscale.
We're talking luxury resorts, golf courses.
Exactly. Large estates. You're not just renting a property, you're selling an experience of privacy and luxury. The yields might look different, but the clientele is too.
Okay, so that really sets the scene. Now let's get into the strategy, the actual preparation. The experts at Ocean Worldwide are really clear on this. Successful negotiation is basically all about the prep work, and it starts with the budget.
It's the anchor. It absolutely has to be the anchor. It's so easy to get swept up in the emotion of it all. You find a place you love and...
Your wallet goes out the window.
Right. A predefined budget is your wall against that. But, and this is a huge but, we're not just talking about the purchase price.
The infamous hidden costs. Let's break those down. What does a foreign buyer absolutely have to factor in beyond the price on the listing?
Okay, so first, you have your taxes and fees. Things like stamp duty, transfer fees, these can vary. Then, legal costs. This is non-negotiable. Your lawyer's fees for doing all the checks.
Right.
Then you need a contingency fund, always, for those little surprises after you move in. And finally, don't forget furnishing decor. If it's an empty villa, that's a huge expense.
Wow. So if you only budget for the sticker price, you could be short by what, 5, 10%?
At least. 10% is a safe buffer to assume for your total transaction cost.
So once that solid budget is in place, the next step is research. The sources say, and I'm quoting here, understanding the market value is your strongest negotiating tool. How do you actually do that in Phuket?
You have to ignore the asking prices.
Ignore the.
Well, see them for what they are. Aspirational. Your real power comes from recent sales data. What did a comparable property, similar size, similar condition, similar area, actually sell for last month?
And I'm guessing that data isn't just on a public website.
Not usually, especially for high-end villas. This is where a really good local agent, like the team at Ocean Worldwide, becomes invaluable. They have access to those actual closing prices. That data gives you your realistic price ceiling.
This leads us to maybe the most critical part for a foreign buyer, the legal structure of ownership. The source really hammered home the difference between a leasehold and owning through a Thai company.
This is the part you absolutely cannot rush. It's fundamental. Leasehold is, let's say, the simpler path for a foreigner. You're leasing the land and building for a long period, typically 30 years, with renewals.
So you don't own the land itself.
Correct. It's secure, but you don't hold the title deed outright. The Thai company structure, on the other hand, gets you closer to what we think of as outright ownership.
But it sounds more complicated.
It is. You have to set up a Thai limited company, and that company owns the land. It gives you more control, for sure, but there are higher setup costs, annual accounting, and it's a bit more complex when you decide to sell. So, knowing which structure a property has can be a negotiation point in itself. A more complex or less secure structure could justify a lower offer.
Okay, so legal checks are done, budget is set. Now we're actually at the property. We have to assess its true value, and that means looking past the nice staging.
You have to. This is where a professional property appraisal is worth its weight in gold. It just strips all the emotion out of the equation.
Because the appraiser is just looking at the hard data we just talked about.
Exactly. They're comparing the size, condition, and unique features of this property against what similar ones have actually sold for recently. If the seller wants $1 million, but 3 identical villas nearby just sold for $850.
That appraisal is your negotiation firepower right there.
It's your irrefutable argument.
And then there's the physical inspection, the detective work. In a tropical climate like Phuket, what are the big things to look for?
Humidity and heat are your enemies. You have to be militant about looking for any signs of damp or mold. That can be a huge fix.
I can imagine. What else?
Check the age of the air conditioning units. An AC system is not a nice-to-have in Phuket. It's essential. And replacing a whole system is a massive immediate cost. Also, check the plumbing, the electricals. Things just wear out faster in that climate.
So you're basically doing an audit of the property's liabilities.
Precisely. If a professional inspection finds that, say, the roof needs replacing in a couple of years, or the pool pump is on its last legs, you get a quote for that repair. And that cost comes directly off the price you're willing to offer. A few $100s on an inspection can literally save you tens of thousands.
All right, we understand the market, the legals, the physical asset. Now we get into the psychology of it all, uncovering why the seller is selling. The source talks about the power of the why.
The why is everything. I mean, it tells you about their urgency, their mindset. If you know why they're moving, you know how flexible they might be.
And you find this out by just asking.
Politely, yes. Simple, strategic questions. So, what's prompting the move? Or, are you relocating for work? People will often tell you more than you think.
And you're listening for clues about how motivated they are. What are some of those signals?
Urgency is gold for a buyer. Look at how long the property's been on the market. Have they already dropped the price a few times? That's a huge sign.
What else?
If you can find out if they've already bought their next place. If they have, they might need the cash from this sale to close that deal. That means they'll prioritize a quick, clean sale over getting every last dollar.
And I guess this is another area where a good local agent earns their fee. They're going to have a feel for the seller situation.
Absolutely. A good agent will often know the backstory. Maybe they'll tell you that a previous offer fell through at the last minute, so the seller is frustrated and just wants it done. Or maybe they'll tell you the seller is incredibly attached to the house and has an unrealistic price in their head. That kind of soft intel is critical for shaping your opening offer.
Okay, the foundation is built. We're at the climax. It's time to make the offer. How do the experts at Ocean Worldwide suggest putting that first offer together?
It has to be based on facts.
Yeah.
Credible. Your offer needs to be a logical conclusion of all your research. You say, okay, here's what similar properties have sold for. Here is the estimated cost for the repairs we found. And so here is our offer.
So you're showing your work, essentially. You're justifying the number.
You're justifying it. It's not just a number you pulled out of thin air. It immediately makes you seem like a serious, well-informed buyer.
Let's talk about the low ball trap. It's so tempting to just throw out a crazy low number and see what happens, but the sources say this almost never works.
It really doesn't. A ridiculously low offer is just seen as disrespectful. It doesn't start a negotiation. It ends one before it even begins. The seller just thinks you're not serious and might not even counter. You're aiming for a good deal, not an insult.
And the presentation of the offer itself matters. It shouldn't just be a casual conversation.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It needs to be a formal, written document.
Yeah.
It should clearly state the price, the deposit, any conditions, like a satisfactory inspection clause, and, very importantly, an expiry date for the offer.
It shows you're serious.
This shows you're a professional, and it sets the tone for a professional negotiation.
Okay, let's do a lightning round. The key behavioral do's and don'ts from the source.
Okay. Do build rapport. Be respectful. Be likable. People make deals with people they like. Do keep your emotions in check. It's a business deal.
Yeah.
And do be firm but flexible. Know your top number, but be willing to meet in the middle.
And the big don'ts.
Don't ever show you're desperate or that you've fallen in love with a place. Your leverage just vanishes. And on the legal side, the absolute #1 don't is skipping your homework. You do not neglect to check the title deeds. In Thailand, it's called the shinote. That is your proof of ownership.
And the biggest do of all for a foreign buyer.
Do get a lawyer, a professional local Thai lawyer. It is simply non-negotiable. They verify the shinote, they check the contract, they protect your investment, period.
And that brings us to the final step, which might be the hardest one, knowing when to walk away. It takes so much discipline.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because by this point, you're invested. You've spent time, maybe some money on inspections. But you have to have a line in the sand.
The walk-away price.
Exactly. You have to set that number before you even start the back and forth.
Yeah.
It's the absolute maximum you should pay for that property to still be a good investment.
So what are the triggers? When do you know it's time to pull the plug?
You walk if the final price is way over what your research says it's worth. You walk if the seller won't agree to reasonable conditions, like fixing a major issue found in the inspection. Basically, if they're being completely rigid on the important stuff, it's a red flag.
And you have to be willing to let it go, even if you love it.
You have to. Remember, the time you've invested is a sunk cost. Overpaying for the property is a mistake that will cost you for years.
And to navigate all this, the source material from Ocean Worldwide really stresses that getting professional help isn't a luxury, it's essential.
It's just smart insurance on a massive investment. You need a great real estate agent for the market intel. You need a dedicated lawyer for the legal safety net.
And if you're not going to be living there full time,
Then you absolutely need good property management services. They handle the tenants, the rent, the maintenance. They keep your investment working for you while you're thousands of miles away. So to pull it all together, negotiation success in Phuket really boils down to, well, preparation. It's about setting a real-world budget, digging into the data to find the true market value, and then using that knowledge strategically.
and it's about your behavior too, building that rapport, staying calm, and not being afraid to walk away if the deal just isn't right.
Exactly. You combine solid research with emotional discipline. That's the winning formula.
And that brings me to a final thought, building on that crucial point about legal structures. Given that owning property in Thailand as a foreigner often means using these complex leaseholds or company structures, here's something to think about. What specific steps should you take right now to make sure your chosen legal structure not only makes the purchase secure, but also makes your life easier down the road when you eventually decide to sell? That exit strategy is just as important as the entry. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. All of these powerful on-the-ground insights come directly from the team at Ocean Worldwide. If you're thinking about finding your own piece of paradise in Phuket and want guidance from the pros who've been doing this successfully since 2004, you can visit them at oceanwwp.com. That's ocean9wwp.com. We'll see you next time.